Hello, Jacob here, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but for my first video of 2022, I'm going to be showing off, I haven't counted them, but a bunch of paperbacks from Hell Books that I got very recently. I want to say 3 or 4 of them came from an Etsy store called Dead Zone Collectibles, which I find a lot of really cool stuff there. They ship out of Canada. The shipping's always super prompt. I've ordered from them like 3 times now and have always had like a really good experience. So if you're like me and you do collect these kind of books, definitely worth checking out. A lot of like rarer and hard to find stuff on there. And to be honest, I've actually been turning to Etsy a lot lately. So I've been finding a whole lot of stuff on there, which is really cool. I find a lot of stores that sell not only, like old horror books, but I'm also finding a lot of like old Westerns and especially a lot of old sword and sorcery books, which I'm trying to read a lot more of this year, and I will talk about that in another video. So I'm going to be talking about a bunch of paperback from Hell Books I got recently. Kind of a cool story. I found a majority of these at a fill up the bag sale this used bookstore was having. They were all in a box in the back, and when I told the lady I was interested in these, she actually pulled out more of them. Sadly, I did have a couple of them, so I didn't really want to get duplicates at the time. Now I kind of wish I had, just because then I could have traded them in other groups, but oh well. First up, I have The Others by DM Wind. Kind of a cool cover there, a face over top, a panther. Says, "They wait among us, beware. Shapeshifters, immortal creatures gifted with the power to assume any form, damned by an insatiable hunger for human flesh. Their time is near and their strength is growing, their bloodlust intensifying, their madness exploding. The horror will soon start, a maelstrom of unspeakable evil, unthinkable death, unbelievable destruction, a bloodbath that the others alone will begin and end." So that sounds pretty cool. It's not, it's a cool cover. It's obviously not my favorite cover from like paperbacks of Hell Books. I really like the illustrated covers a lot more. I know a lot of people go for like the skeleton covers. But yeah, this is kind of cool. I do like shapeshifter books. Usually I go for more werewolves, so it is going to be interesting to see a book that I guess isn't werewolf-centric, but still shapeshifter-centric. Hopefully they won't all be big cats, but, we'll see. I'll get there when I read it. Next up is Tower of Evil by James Kisner. This is a really cool-looking cover. It looks like an elevator shaft with, like, an open, hungry mouth at the bottom. I've actually seen this cover on Pinterest, and it might be in the paperbacks from Hellbook by Grady Hendrix, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And it does say, "From the height of terror to the depths of hell, a mangled body lies twisted in an elevator shaft. A disembodied head warns the living of a wrathful evil. Demonic creatures lurk in the midst of a paralyzing blizzard. High above the city landscape rises the skyscraper. Once a monument to modern technology, now a mausoleum for the victims of mysterious terror. Inside, ghastly powers besiege a handful of workers, threatening them with utter madness, devastating torture, and gruesome death. Cut off from the outside world by the violent snowstorm, the survivors battle brutal forces they cannot fathom. As the body count rises, the blood sport multiplies, and the hour of reckoning draws near. Tower of Evil." Yeah, no, this looks pretty cool. It also sounds like it might have kind of like a cosmic horror bent to it, so that's going to be really interesting to see once I get around to reading it. My reading list is quite extensive this year, but I'm excited. Next up, cool skeleton cover, The Evil Eye by Aaron M. Eiley, author of Totem, which I've read Totem. I'm going to do a review of Totem. I actually finished it pretty recently. I didn't dislike it. It's definitely not my favorite book. I guess I was neutral. It did what it needed to do. It entertained me. I'll get into that in a review. But it says, "Alexandria, Egypt, 1919. The exorcism was almost complete. The The priest had overcome the old man's fierce resistance, and as if lancing a boil had drawn the evil power from his body. But before they could finish the ceremony of purification, something happened. Something that would change the world. New York City today. The Forrester family was rich, powerful, and nasty. The kind of people who would steal the pennies from a dead man's eyes, arrogant and contemptuous. They ruined lives as easily as they bought and sold companies. Yet they were suddenly faced with a problem. Tony Filestra, although he was merely a pawn. Sorry, it was broken by the V here, and I was like, it looked like it just went from A to N. But yes, a pawn in their corporate empire, Filestra had an ally more ruthless than even the Forresters, an aged grandmother with a thirst for revenge, and the incredible power of the evil eye. Kind of a cool side note of this, I don't know if anyone has seen this. It's been floating around, but it is true, I guess, archaeologist somewhere in the Middle East dug up a body of a priestess that actually had like a stone eye. Hopefully it's not evil, but I just thought that was kind of cool tying into that. Next up, I don't know if he counts as Paperbacks from Hell, but I'm going to throw it in there. Dean Koontz, The Strangers. He doesn't really have those covers, but, you know, he is a thriller horror writer, and it's from that time period, so I'm going to count it. There is no back copy, so I can't actually tell you what it's about. But it has a motel on the cover, so something's bad is going to happen in a motel. But yeah, instead of a blurb, we just get this picture of Dean Koontz from back in the day. Next up, I love this cover. I don't care if the book's bad. I don't know what it's about, but I'm super excited. This is The Lake. I mean, just look at that cover. I love aquatic horror. I've written aquatic horror. Yeah, I'm in love with this. I don't care. It could not even be about a lake at this point. I don't care. R. Carl Largent, The Lake, a watery grave none can escape. To save the environment, it had to be controlled. To save the people, it had to be stopped. To save the town, it had to be destroyed. From out of the depths rose a horror born of a technological disaster, a terrifying force that defied the laws of nature and threatened mankind with a new kind of death. Yeah, and it also says he's the best-selling author of Red Tide, so I will try to track that down if he has in fact written other books of that nature. And then next up, this is another like mouth thing at the end of the stairs, and this is The Abyss. And it says A Descent into the Mouth of Hell by Steve Vance, author of The Hyde Effect. Abandon hope, all ye who enter York House. It was such a lovely old house, elegant and airy, but it had one minor flaw. The people who checked in never checked out alive. Undaunted by rumors of evil, Kathy Lockwood walked right into the festering heart of the crumbling mansion, determined to find her brother. She was sure he was alive, in some form, and she swore she'd rip York House apart, timber by timber, to find him. She thought nothing human or inhuman could scare her away until she confronted the horrifying secret that waited for her in the dark, fetid basement. Then she could scream to high heaven, but only hell would hear her. Bum bum bum. Yeah, so this seems pretty neat. I'm excited to read this. It kind of gives me like a Rose Red vibe. I love a book or story about like a hungry haunted house. I think it's interesting when the house is itself alive, if that makes sense, in its own form. This is another cool book. Cool cover. It's got a broken door with something coming out. This is The Devouring by Douglas D. Hawke. And it says, in the depths of the earth they wait. Their boundless hunger grows, and their untold numbers promise to unleash a raging fury that cannot be stopped. Above the sleeping town they prepare. Their time has come to prey on the weak and defenseless. Soon no one will escape their madness. In the dark of night they attack. Anything that moves will become their victims. Anything that breathes will have to fight a horror beyond imagining. Anything that lives will face agonizing death. And it says at the bottom, what you can't see can kill you. So yeah. Oh, I guess it says on the front too. I just didn't see that. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. And this is a leisure horror. Kind of neat. Then next up, this is another kind of like a door, but this is a cellar door. Someone's trying to climb out of it, and this is The Neighborhood by S.K. Epperson, author of The Moons of Summer, which I have not read. And it says, welcome to the neighborhood. Abra Aaron's new neighborhood looked like quintessential small town America. A quiet little place with picket fences and friendly folks. But it didn't take her long to notice that beneath the Norman Rockwell exterior, a hideous darkness was festering. There was something just a little odd going on, and someone in town was decidedly unfriendly. After all, someone had to be responsible for the horrible things that happened to young Sidney Mello, and that someone wasn't about to stop with just her. Clearly, Abra's pleasant community wasn't what it seemed, but she couldn't know just how grotesque it really was, and the more she found out, the more she wanted to hide her welcome mat. So come on over and look around the neighborhood, but be warned, you may never look at your own neighbors the same way again. Bum bum bum. Yeah, there was definitely a trend in scary small towns that involve neighbors. I'm reading a book that kind of predates that a little bit, and I think is at least I think Grady Hendrix says is basically explains a lot of like the folk horror stuff, or at least started a lot of the small town folk horror stuff, which is The Auctioneer, which I do plan to review at some point on this channel. But anyway, next up is John Saul's Darkness, which not the coolest cover, just kind of like 3 children and like a creek river thing with the moon in the background. It says, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Vilwani, Florida, a secluded little town at the edge of a vast, eerie swamp. Far from prying eyes, far from the laws of civilization. Here folks live by their own rules. Dark rites of altars and infants, candles and blood. Years ago, the Andersons left town with a dream. Now they are back to live out a nightmare. Something has been waiting for them, something unspeakably evil. It feeds on the young and the innocent, and soon it will draw their teenage daughter into its unholy embrace. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. I've read several John Saul books. I've liked all the ones that I've read. So I'm hoping that one's going to be cool as well. And it's going to be interesting, I think, to read one of his books that doesn't mostly involve people in the Northeast. Because I think all the books I've read by him have been set in New England so far. But I could be wrong. Then next up I have The Pines. It's kind of a cool cover. It kind of shows like a, I don't know if you can see the blood on the stump. And it's by, I think it says Robert Dunbar. It's kind of blocked by that sticker. I hate it when they put those stickers on there, but I'm also super afraid to try to rip it off. But it says, whatever stalked the pines was capable of savagery beyond imagination. Evil Omen. After her husband died, Athena Monroe often wondered why she stayed in the dilapidated old farmhouse, buried deep in the harsh, blighted New Jersey pine barrens. Perhaps it was because her mysteriously afflicted young son seemed to feel such strong ties to the area's primeval swamps and stunted forests, such an affinity for the pines. She didn't guess that his psychic connection was with something evil, until ranting fits and night terrors gripped him in a vice of horror. Athena was afraid of her inability to really love the boy, was now causing his strange behavior. But the old-timers in the region recognized something more sinister. To them it was an omen of things to come, a sign that the monstrous Jersey Devil was about to reappear. Yeah, so that's The Pines. That's going to be cool to read. I also read, or actually reread Hunter Shea's The Jersey Devil recently, so that'll be the second Jersey Devil book I've read. I'm sure there's more out there. I mean, it's an old legend. But yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. And then next up, this is actually 2 horror novels in one. I've already read one. This is Leslie H. Winton's The Things of Mourning and The Alchemist. I am going to do a review on The Alchemist. I have strong feelings about that book. I don't really think it's a horror book. I think it's more of a thriller. Now, I don't know about The Things of Mourning, but I'll read the back of The Things of Mourning. Somebody or something was stalking the streets of Washington, D.C., leaving corpses everywhere, from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol steps. The victims had nothing in common, except the bad luck to be on the mall. I don't know where the mall is. Pretty familiar with DC, but anyway. And twin bite wounds on their necks. Sent undercover to stop the murders, Avery Morgan assumed he was after a psychotic with a taste for blood. But the closer the hardened detective got to catching the killer, the more convinced he became that he was on the trail of a horrifying evil as old and unstoppable as time itself. So yeah, that sounds more like an actual horror book, and I'm excited to see where that will go. Next up, this is a little more of a horror cover, and this is Dean Koontz, Night Chills. It shows a kind of a scary tree with a red background and a lady running through a cemetery, and it promises, well, the New York Times promises that it will send chills down your back. Once again, I can't actually tell you what this book is about because it just has a picture of him looking pensively. Or scared of the photographer, one or the other. You guys tell me. Then next up, I have The Sound of Midnight by Charles L. Grant. And this is slightly better condition than the other books. This did come from the Dead Zone. And this says, Ox Run Station is a quiet, peaceful town. Its children are ordinary, innocent kids. Their favorite place is the toy shop run by Dale Bartlett. Dale Bartlett's orderly world is about to end. Nothing is as simple as it seems. Ox Run Station is a gathering place for evil. The children's games are an ancient ritual worshipping an old and angry god. Their temple is an abandoned orchard. No god can live without sacrifice. Will Dale Bartlett be the next adult to die? So yeah, this sounds exciting. I love folk horror. It sounds right up my alley, and it's already giving me Children of the Corn vibes, so it'll be interesting to see how similar these books are and see which ones predate each other, because I always find that fascinating. So yeah, I can't wait to tuck into that one. And then next up, I'm not gonna lie, I just love vampires. I know nothing about this book, but the cover seemed cool. This is Nightlife by Jack Ellis. I mean, it's just a full-on vampire face with bloody tears. And it says, they kill to live and live to kill. And then it says, your worst nightmare. His eyes glitter like black stars. His mouth is a jagged slit. He rides in a shiny limousine with plush curtains that block out the sun and waits for darkness to fall. He is Richard Carnage? I think I'm pronouncing that right. A man of pitiless hate and insatiable hunger. No one like Carnage has ever walked the earth, and no one can stop his feeding frenzy, as one by one society's outcasts and loners disappear from the streets of the city. Now a band of survivors is about to fight back. Now the prey are about to become the hunters, but to stop this hellish nightmare means confronting an evil more unspeakable than death itself, and it is sent into the ultimate night. Yeah, I love vampire books, so I'm very excited to read this, especially since I read The Thirst by Robert McCammon last year and a couple others that I need to review for this, because I definitely think as far as like horror vampire fiction, it doesn't really get talked about enough, because as much as I like, you know, like the paranormal and the urban fantasy books, they definitely seem to top charts and get a lot more reviews and stuff than some of the older books, like that are more akin to like Salem's Lot, 30 Days of Night, and that kind of stuff. So I do plan on talking a lot more about those this year, and I don't know if you've watched some of my earlier book hauls, but I did go kind of on a buying frenzy last year, and actually I think I got a lot of them from Dead Zone Collectibles as well, and the rest probably came from used bookstores and stuff. But anyway, another vampire book here, Cold Kiss by Roxanne Longstreet. And that's kind of like, you know, Dracula with the cape and everything, hands up, super dirty long fingernails, which has always kind of got me because it's, I mean, it seems like if you were a vampire trying to fit in, you'd at least clip your nails, but what do I know? And Roxanne Longstreet is the author of Red Angel and the Undead, so might have to look those up, especially if those are also vampire books. And on the back it says, the kiss of death, endless thirst, insatiable lust. That's the nightmare that has been Michael Bowman's life ever since he was transformed from respected surgeon to a creature of the dark, prowling the shadowy streets of Dallas for his death's blood. Death's blood's kind of weird, but anyway. But some vampires want more than blood, as Michael discovers when he enters the closed doors of the society in search of his missing fellow vampire, Adam Radburn. Bound by a pact forged in the deepest pits of hell, this exclusive circle of the undead lures Michael down into a world of seductive evil and inescapable madness. But Michael must escape, because for the damned, death isn't just a way of life, it's the ultimate aphrodisiac, an erotic embrace that promises exquisite ecstasy and endless pain. So yeah, that sounds pretty neat. Sounds like a horror story where the vampire is the victim of the horror, so that'll definitely be interesting to read. And then next up, I also love this cover. This is another cellar door cover, and this is Unholy Ghost by Claudia Davidson. I've also always been a fan of kind of like when they do like the word art like that. But anyway, it says, so much to live for, so much to fear. It was not surprising that Wendy Branch's widowed mother was swept off her feet by Ashford Tucker. He was handsome, charming, and obviously rich. Right after the wedding, he moved the family to Pinecrest, his ranch house mansion in the Black Hills of Dakota, and it was wonderful for a while. But Pinecrest held unseen, unexpected things. Nights filled with strange noises from the abandoned well, the padlocked cellar, the dire warnings from Ashford's queer cantankerous mother concerning the departed Dr. Turner, whose ghost haunted Pinecrest. Then her mother's terrible accident, her beloved sister's disappearance. Now Wendy's once promising life holds only a sense of impending doom. And Ashford, a different man now, taunts her with his unwelcome caresses. Then the night visits to her room, his hands invading her terrified flesh. Was it real or imagined? His brute passion or her own madness? Unholy Ghost. Da da da. This is gonna be interesting to read. It's definitely gonna have some stuff that I'm probably not really gonna like on it, much like it's a Mort Castle book, and now I can't think of it. But anyway, there's a lot of horror books that I think came out of this time that definitely involved a lot of abuse towards children, which I really don't like to read that much in books. But anyway, moving on, I am excited to read all of these paperbacks from hell and review them on this channel. I do thank you for watching this book haul and my first video of 2022, and I can't wait to see what else the year brings. Until next time, please like and subscribe below. Once again, I am Jacob Payton, and I will see you guys in the next video.